welcome back. I'm Krista Gibson, and this is the series Growing Older and Wiser. We've covered a lot of territory right now, and I certainly hope that you've been following along and really embracing some of the ideas and some of the assignments or exercises that I've presented, because as with anything in life, and you're well aware of this, in order to really learn something, we need to do something with the information. In fact, one of the things that I will frequently tell my clients when they're struggling with something or, trying to master a particular life skill or circumstance in their life, one thing I'll always tell them is go teach a class in it. And by that, I mean design a class. Let's say the person's having money problems. Okay, well, go design a class in prosperity. Now, whether or not you give the class is a whole different thing, and probably you really shouldn't until you feel like you really know what you're talking about. But designing the class, yes, that involves researching it, living it, really learning it. So what I'm getting at is to really embody the things that I'm talking about, growing older and growing wiser, is to do some of the things that I've presented, because I did put a lot of thought into them in terms of the many, many older adults I've worked with. What are some of the things that really the successful people did and that maybe the less successful didn't do? Anyway, today, one of my favorite topics is creativity. I love the word creativity, and whenever I see it, my ears perk up, and I'm interested in whatever the person has to say. And in fact, I write a column on creativity for a magazine called Color. It's an international magazine, and it's devoted to colored pencil artists. And if you didn't know about colored pencil artists, boy, it's amazing what they can do with colored pencils. Anyway, so I write a column on creativity, and I review books and that sort of thing. And it's geared to all kinds of creativity, not just colored pencil. I love it that much that I'm doing a column on it. So anyway, what I want to talk about today is creativity as we grow older. Now, one of my challenges when I do these videos or these classes, I don't know who I'm talking to. A few of you have gotten in touch with me, and even those who have, I don't always know how old you are. I certainly don't know your life experience. And so I don't know if I'm talking to someone who is an artist, who is a musician, who is a chef, a mother, a grandmother. I don't know who I'm talking to. So I try to keep what I say as broad as I can so that whoever you are, you feel included in what I'm saying, because you are included. Now, the kind of creativity I'm talking about here is not arts and crafts, although it can include that. I'm talking about that energy that we all have within us to create. Somewhere it was written that we are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. If that's true, which I'm sure it is, then we're all creative, because it's the Creator who made us in her image, and we're here to create. And we do create from the minute we wake up all the way through our sleep. We're constantly creating. How do I know that? Well, you're alive. That's how I know that. Your body creates. I don't have the facts and figures because I didn't look them up, but I've read them before about how many cells we have in our body, how many cells we lose every day and then recreate when we sleep or during the day. And then if you just look back over your life, all the way back into kindergarten or daycare or wherever you grew up in, you have constantly been creating in one way or another. It could have been a simple term paper that you had to write. Maybe when you went on to college, you had to write a thesis. Perhaps you're a mom or a dad and you're helping your children with their homework or their coloring. Maybe you love to cook. There are so many ways that we all create on a regular basis. So what I'm talking about here is consciously creating, and consciously creating every day as much as you possibly can. And what do I mean by that? Consciously create the way your day goes. You don't have to just get up and just say, well, whatever happens, happens. No, I mean, certainly that's true. And you want to be in the flow and all of that. However, you can also say, well, today I'm going to create this circumstance in my life. Now, if you are a person who also likes to draw, make music, cook, write, any of those sorts of things, then you can build that into your day. You know, there's a quote, a woman, her name is Suzanne Benton, and I'm going to put a link to one of her YouTube videos. There's many of them there that go back many years. She's just a really interesting person. She's in her mid-90s. And what she does is she creates, she welds metal masks. And then she takes these masks and she does presentations with the masks. So I've given you a link to one of the ones, and really interesting. But here's what she says, quote, "Aging doesn't mean we have to stop creating," end quote. Many people, as they age, they kind of feel, well, you know, I'm done for here and I'm not working anymore, and, you know, I'm just going to sit and watch TV all day, and there's really nothing for me to do unless the grandkids come over or my kids come over. So I'm just going to kind of sit here. And it's like, no. There is so much if you want to. Now, if that's how you choose to live your life, that's fine. You know, I believe in personal choice. However, if that doesn't make you happy, and that's kind of the way you've been living your life, you can think about that, maybe there's ways that I could be more creative. And, you know, it's like when we're older, we also have more inner juice to draw on. If you consider yourself perhaps in your 20s and 30s, and you look at, just think a bit about what you created then or how you approached creativity in your work, in your life, and then fast forward to whatever age you are right now. And I don't know if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, or 100s. I don't know. Whatever it is, look at your creative juices today and look at how much more you have to draw on than you did then. Why? Because you've lived all these years. You've had all these different life experiences. You've met all these different people. And from all of that, you have this amazing richness that you can draw on that you didn't have before. One of the nice things about creating when we are older is there's a lot less pressure. It's kind of like when we're younger, we have to prove ourselves, whether it's because of work or just our own innate competitive spirit. We feel like we have to be really good, and we have to create something really good, and it has to stand out, and maybe we have to win awards or make money at it or whatever. When you're older, you can kind of remove that pressure, unless it is your job. And even then, you can look at the pressure differently than maybe you looked at it when you were younger. And so because you can have less pressure to perform and less pressure to be, quote unquote, the best or really good, you can relax more. And when we relax into our creativity, it flows so much more easily. And I think you're well aware of that. Again, I'm sure there have been times in your life, for instance, if you're a writer, I've had this, I'm on deadline. I have to produce something by 5 o'clock. Has to happen. No way out. That's pressure. Versus, well, I'm writing this book, and, you know, if I get it done next month, that's fine. There's not that time pressure. That's two really different ways to create. And I am not saying that one is better than the other, because truthfully, I have produced a lot of really good work when I was under deadline, and really not such good work when I had all the time in the world. So I'm not so sure that it isn't a good idea to actually give ourselves a little bit of performance pressure of a deadline or something like that, that it might in fact bring out even greater creativity in us. So I've written down a couple of ideas here. One thing I wanted to mention was about, I draw and I do crochet, and I've been crocheting for years, although I took about a year break from it without planning to. It just kind of happened. But one of the things that happened for me with my crochet is I decided to open an Etsy store. I was making these cute little bags for people's tarot decks and that sort of thing, and I put little charms on them. They were really pretty. And so I made a bunch of them and bought a special camera box to take pictures, and opened my store and put them up there, and I started making a few sales. And I realized I don't want to do this. It took away the joy. No longer was I creating a pretty little bag because it was a fun thing to do. No, I had to have more blues this week, or more reds, or more greens, or more whatevers. And suddenly I realized I didn't really want to do this. So I closed the store down and gave the bags away to friends. My point being is that when we look at whatever it is we're creating, sometimes we don't need to put it up for sale. It can just be to please ourselves, and we can give it away if we want to. Now, if you want to sell it, that's a whole different thing, and you're making it with that intent. For me, it was more like people kept saying, oh, you should sell your stuff. You should sell your scarves. You should do all of this. And so I kind of believed them and listened to it. And then once I did it, no, I don't want to do that. So you don't need to create in order to sell what you're making, but you can if you want to, whatever it is that you're doing. So one of the things, here's things I'd like to just toss out to you for you to think about. And to ask yourself in the morning, how can I enjoy myself today? How can I have some fun? Maybe you do have a lot of things you have to do. Maybe you have to go to the doctor. Maybe you have to haul kids around or whatever. But still ask yourself, what can I do today that's fun and that makes me feel good? And make sure you get that on your schedule and that you allow that time for yourself. And can I give myself some time to just relax and do nothing? For me, some of the greatest thoughts I've ever had that have actually turned into something pretty cool have been when I was just falling asleep, just waking up, driving, in the shower, getting out of the shower. It's amazing the ideas just plop, and the reason they do is because I'm relaxed. So make sure you build in some time every day just for you. And I don't care if it's 15 minutes or an hour, but just some time to relax. But make sure you have a pad and pencil nearby in case thoughts are dropped into your mind that you want to take action on. Another way to be creative is change your schedule. We can get into ruts. I get up, this is what I do, here's where I go, here's what I eat, here's the people I see. That can get boring. So why don't you change your schedule? Be more creative in how you live your day. That in and of itself could create all kinds of wonderful inspirations for you, not to mention a lot of fun when you confuse everybody else in your life. When they say, well, I thought normally you would be blah, blah, blah. And you say, yeah, well, I changed my schedule. Ask yourself, what makes my soul happy? Go into the meditative state and just get in touch with your higher self, with your soul, and say, what makes you happy? You're driving this ship. I'm kind of, on it, but I'm really not the captain of this ship. My soul is. What does my soul want? What has my soul wanted all my life? Kind of look back and where has your soul taken you? And where does your soul want to go now? What does your soul want to do today? My soul wants me talking to you, so here I am. What does your soul want you to do today? Create adventures. An adventure does not have to be going on a cruise or taking an 8-mile hike. An adventure can be as simple as something like going to the grocery store. Go to a different store. Go in a different door in the store. Don't make a list if you always make a list. If you don't make a list, make a list. And then when you go in, make it an adventure. If you always start at the fruits and veggies, go down the canned soup aisle first and go, how would somebody else look at this aisle? Who buys this item? My God, I would never buy that. Why don't you buy it? Well, I just never would. Well, why not? Well, my mother always said, my father always said, maybe that's something I ought to try. My gosh, they have it here. It's reasonably priced. Make it an adventure. Do something different. If you always buy broccoli and carrots, buy a jicama. What's a jicama? Go to the store and ask. Buy different things, but make whatever you're doing an adventure. If you have to go do something work-wise that you are like, I really don't want to do this, how can I make it into an adventure? If you have to mow the lawn, if you have to clean the house, can you turn it into an adventure? That's being creative, and it's a way to have a lot of fun. If you have health issues, and I suspect that many of you watching this do, because it's something that happens as we grow older, we tend to have health issues, and that's okay. We can let them consume us. We can let our whole life revolve around going to the doctor, taking pills, doing exercises, whatever it is that you're dealing with. And you can just let that totally consume you. Is that healthy? I don't think so. How can you say, okay, here are my health issues, and here are the things I have to do for my health issues. I'm going to do them, but I've got all this other time. What am I going to do over here that's fun and creative, that makes me happy, that makes me smile? You can even do something if you take a lot of pills, decorate your pill box. Find a way to make it more fun. If you have to do exercises, how can I make them more fun? If you're riding a stationary bike, is there some way I can use my iPad or my iPhone and watch a show while I'm doing that? And it doesn't have to be uplifting. It can be a comedy. It can just be something that's just to entertain you. We don't always have to be so darn serious. I work with that all the time, because of my work. I tend to think of life in a more serious way. And I've had to get to the point of saying, Krista, you don't need to be so darn serious all the time. Have some fun. We talk about being enlightened. Let's lighten up, shall we? One thing I used to do, I worked at a hospital for a while with the senior program there. And there's certain codes. When you're in a hospital and you hear code blue, code black, code whatever, there's a reason for that. And being on staff, I knew what the codes meant. And there was one code that they would give, and what it meant was, all able-bodied people need to come to room thus and so because a patient is out of control. And all the able-bodied people would go to that room and help get the patient under control. Well, just the general public sitting there listening, I wouldn't have a clue what that meant. They would just think, okay, well, they want people to go do something. And so I had fun sitting there in the hospital eating my lunch or whatever, and I would hear different codes, making up a story about what was really happening and how did it turn out? How many people showed up? Did nobody show up because all the able-bodied people were out to lunch? And it was just a fun way in a very serious setting, and trust me, it was very serious, to lighten up and have a bit of fun. The other thing that I do, I've got two more things I want to tell you. One of the things that I do that actually entertains my spouse to no end is I make up stories about the neighbors. We moved to a new city, moved to Phoenix, Arizona, a little over a year ago now, and we don't know our neighbors very well. I kind of thought once we were living more in a neighborhood where the houses were closer together, we would get to know people more, and I was kind of looking forward to it. One of the first things one of the neighbors told my spouse when she was outside, she introduced herself and so on. She said, we all just kind of keep to ourselves here. So it was like, oh. So of all of my neighbors, and I've probably got, our little community maybe has 20, 30 homes in it, I've met two neighbors. One that, we're kind of getting to know him a bit, and the others, they have no interest in us whatsoever. So I'm having a lot of fun coming up with their stories. Like one of our neighbors who's very unfriendly, and she's gone sometimes, and then she has kids sometimes. Well, she's in the witness protection program, and that's why she's not so friendly. And those kids aren't really hers. Those are just props that the government gives her so that people think that she's a regular person, but she's really in the witness protection program. Of course, I have no idea. Of course, she's not. But I tell that story. Or sometimes, I'll look out and one of the neighbors is, it's Sunday morning and it's early and he's going somewhere. I say, he's Catholic, he's going to the church because he's one of the ushers and he's got to get there early to help with the ushering. And so when I tell my spouse that, she's like, what are you talking about? You have no idea. I said, I know, he's probably just going to breakfast, but I have fun creating a storyline for him. Anyway, it's one of the ways that I amuse myself, and it's kind of fun, and I'll never know if it's true or not, which even actually makes it more fun. So what I'd like to suggest to you this week is to really find some ways to create in your life. And it can be arts and craftsy kinds of things. It can be music. It can be poetry. It can be writing, whatever. It can also just be the way that you choose to live your life in a more creative way that makes you feel good. One thing I would love to suggest that you do, and I have not done this, not totally, is write, I've talked to you about writing your autobiography, and I really think everybody should write their autobiography and leave it behind for other people, or not, but it should be written. And is write your autobiography, but make it fictional. In other words, don't write what really happened in your life. Write a fictional autobiography. Your life the way it could have been, your life the way you might have wished it had been, but just having fun. I mean, maybe you're a princess. Maybe you're an earth gnome. I don't know. But write the story of your life. It doesn't have to be real long. Or it could be. See how flexible I am here? But do that. Do you have any idea how much fun? Like I said, I've done it a little bit, and I'm going to do it some more. It's just fun to write your life as it could have been, or should have been, or might have been. And it opens up your heart. It opens up your mind. It opens up your soul to where you have all these wonderful feelings. So that's it for that part. Now I wanted to suggest something, and I want to hear from you. And I'm putting this just here because I want this to go to people who actually have watched this all the way to the end. I am thinking of once a month having a Zoom meeting of an hour where we just, those who want to, we get together and we just chat about whatever. We can chat about things that have been in the class. We can chat about other things, but just kind of chat, get to know each other a bit. If that's something that you think you'd like to do, send me an email or respond in the comment section. Let me know. And if you're interested, let me know if there's a day of the week and a time that works best for you. And then I will collect those names, and I'm also going to invite people from my Living in Grace and Ease to do the same thing. And then we'll see if we want to do that. I think it could be a lot of fun. I'd get to know who you are, and I'd get to see you on my screen, which would be really fun for me. So that's it today. I'm not going to give you anything in writing, not a PDF. There'll be some writing with this, and I'll give you a link to Suzanne's YouTube. But other than that, this is it for the week. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye.